Now, what comes to your mind when you hear about North Korea? And he secured this supreme position by executing his own uncle and poisoning his half-brother. North Koreans were even banned from laughing for 11 days. Hey guys, this is Prashant from TechNudo, and today we have a very special story about North Korea. How North Korea became the world's most secretive and strange country. Now, what comes to your mind when you hear about North Korea? This country has been suffering from public relation crisis since several decades. People have either very less access to information or they get to hear only negative news about this country. Now try googling North Korea right now and the chances are that you won't get much positive information. You will either find a lot of information about its struggling economy or eccentric habits of its supreme leader Kim Jong-un. And yes, this country also has some of the most strange rules that are probably not found anywhere in the world. In North Korea, people are not allowed to keep pets. Wearing blue jeans is illegal. Citizens have very limited access to internet. People are not even allowed to make international calls. Women are banned from driving bicycles and two-wheelers. And in some parts of the country, people are not even allowed to take hot shower. If this is not enough, in December 2021, North Koreans were even banned from laughing for 11 days. Now this laughing ban was imposed to mark the death anniversary of the country's former supreme leader Kim Jong-un. And seriously, I'm not joking. All these strange rules are indeed strictly followed in North Korea. Now all these strange rules are actually symptoms of decades of isolation that North Korea has suffered. This self-imposed isolation has made this Asian country one of the most loneliest and secretive countries in the world. But the question is, why and how did North Korea land here? Why did this country choose to take such an unconventional path? There are several reasons and factors behind this. It's clearly a result of decades of autocratic rule of the Kim dynasty and North Korea's unhealthy obsession with America and capitalism. Now in this latest video, we will be talking in great detail about these and many other reasons that have caused North Korea's decade-long isolation. But let us first talk about North Korea's history, which will eventually help us better understand why and how this country became such a rogue and secretive one. For this, we will have to rewind back to the year 1945, the year that saw the end of World War II. And with Japan and Germany losing the World War, Japan was forced to surrender the Korean region. The entire Korean region was under Japan's control since the year 1910. But the surrender of Korea was a complicated affair as both America and Soviet Union laid claim over this region. Now as a result, Korea was divided in two parts. South Korea supported by America and North Korea backed by the USSR. Now both countries also decided to follow completely different economic ideologies. While South Korea opted for America's free market capitalism, North Korea followed Soviet Union's communist ideology. Now to maintain its influence over North Korea, both Soviet and China installed a communist guerrilla fighter, Kim Il-sung, as the leader of the country. Now with this started the dynastic rule of the Kim family over North Korea. Since 1945, the Kim family has been ruling this country with an iron fist. The country till date has not conducted a single democratic election. Barely 3 years after assuming power, Kim Il-sung invaded South Korea. The war lasted for 3 years before the two countries agreed for a ceasefire in July 1953. Now since then, both countries have never gone to war, but even today, tension between the two countries continue to remain high. The border dividing South and North Korea is one of the most militarized regions on the globe. The border is also often described as one of the most dangerous regions in the world. Once the Korean War got over, North Korea turned attention towards its economy. Now the country implemented and followed Soviet's communist economic model, with the state getting a complete control over the economy and its entire production. While Kim Il-sung argued that his socialist policies will help the country in achieving what he called the Jewish ideology, which means self-reliance. In the initial years, the country witnessed a robust economic growth, and this was mostly thanks to the support it received from Soviet and China. But this economic prosperity did not last for too long. By the 60s and 70s, the economy had started stagnating and millions of citizens started slipping into poverty. What added to North Korea's economic hardship was the fact that its relation with both Soviet and China had deteriorated because of political reasons. Now with these two good friends backing out, North Korea was left to fend for itself. Flash forward to 1994, the year when Kim Il-sung died due to heart attack. His death also marked the death of his promise of Jewish or self-reliance. Forget about self-reliance, by 1994, North Korea had become one of the poorest countries in the world. The country also suffered from high unemployment rate and poverty was widespread across all of the country. Experts blame Kim Il-sung's over-reliance on the rigid communist ideology for the economic misery. Even North Korea's trusted communist ally, China, had started economic reforms way back in 1979. With this, China had started embracing capitalism, and today we all know how China has become an economic powerhouse. But North Korea simply refused to shed its fascination with communism. Now, Kim Il-sung's death brought his son Kim Jong-II to the throne. However, Kim Jong-il's regime did not bring any economic or social prosperity for the country. By the time he took over the regime, the globalization had kick-started and every country in the world was trying to race ahead in globalization. Now, globalization could have proved to be a good reason for North Korea to come out of its shell and integrate itself with the rest of the world. But let alone integrating, Kim Jong-il did something that ended up isolating North Korea even further. The Soviet Union's collapse in the 80s and America's rise as a sole superpower caused a huge paranoia and fear among North Korea's ruling elite. As a result, the country decided to embark on a controversial nuclear missile program. Now, a country that is as poor as North Korea, for it to embark on a nuclear missile program was nothing but a cruel joke. A country that can't even provide food to its citizens was now dreaming to become a nuclear power. But Kim Jong-il justified the nuclear program to defend the country against America's imperialism. In the mid-1990s, the country experienced one of its worst famines, killing almost 2 to 3 million people. But even this deadly famine could not force North Korea in abandoning its nuclear program. For North Korea, fighting American imperialism was far more important than saving the lives of its own people. Finally, in 2006, the country conducted its first ever nuclear test. 5 years after conducting the nuclear test, Kim Jong-il died because of a heart attack. Now, this brought his son, Kim Jong-un, the third Kim to rule North Korea, to the throne. And as I'm speaking to you right now, he's still the supreme leader of the North Koreans. He was only 27 years old when he assumed the role of a supreme leader. And he secured this supreme position by executing his own uncle and poisoning his half-brother at the Malaysian airport. He also silenced dozens of top military officials. And this served as a brutal reminder to the North Koreans that anyone who dares to speak against the Kim family will be executed and killed. The Kim family is the god of North Korea, and ordinary citizens have no other option but to accept this fate. As soon as Kim Jong-un assumed the power, he wasted no time in speeding up the nuclear missile program. Before the end of 2017, he conducted 3 nuclear tests, including a hydrogen bomb. The country also conducted 30 missile tests, including an intercontinental missile. North Korea's decision to carry on with its nuclear missile program only further increased its international isolation. The country has been imposed with barrage of UN sanctions, including sanctions by dozens of countries like United States, Japan, Great Britain, European Union. Now, due to these sanctions, except for China, today North Korea has a no viable trading partner in the world. The country overwhelmingly relies on China for external trade. Now, these sanctions have also pushed more and more North Koreans to poverty. According to a report prepared by the UN World Food Programme, at least 10 million people are currently malnutritioned in the country. To put it more bluntly, today this country is literally starving. But even as ordinary citizens in North Korea starve to death, Kim Jong-un seems to care little about them. In fact, this dictator reportedly spent billions on his exuberant and splashy lifestyle. According to reports, he spends nearly $35,000 on American alcohol and $95,000 on German wine every year. His coffee is imported from Brazil, spends a whopping $3.5 million on buying lingerie for his pleasure squad, owns a yacht worth $8 million and is believed to have a fleet of nearly 100 high-end luxury cars. But despite all this hypocrisy, North Koreans continue to adore their supreme leader. They sometimes even shed tears for him. But why this sycophancy and blind loyalty, one may ask? This is mainly because North Korea controls its media with an iron grip. the entire electronic and print media is completely controlled by the state. Common citizens even have a very limited access to the internet. The country's entire media acts like a propaganda machinery, teaching and tutoring its citizens to blindly obey their supreme leader. They never ever get to hear anything remotely negative about King Jongun or the Kim family. All they know is that their supreme leader can never think ill about them, and he is their only savior against American imperialism. Now, citizens are almost brainwashed 24/7 and 365 days a year. Thanks to this efficient propaganda machinery, North Korea's supreme leader often keeps coming with strange rules. Do you know that in North Korea, men are not allowed to grow their hair more than 5 centimeters? Parents are banned from naming their children after the current supreme leader Kim Jong-un. In 2018, the world witnessed a historic event when Kim Jong-un met former American President Donald Trump. Now, this was the first time that the head of the state of both these countries were meeting. They again met in February 2019 at Vietnam. And in these two meetings, Trump made several concessions to North Korea, hoping that the latter will agree to stop its controversial nuclear program. The world saw this historic meeting with a glint of a hope. The world thought that North Korea has finally learned the lesson after decades of suffering, and hoping that the country will now finally shed its American obsession. After all, the rabid fixation with America is largely responsible for making North Korea into a hermit state. But North Korea quickly dashed these hopes. Few months after the Vietnam summit, the country conducted a ballistic missile test. This was followed with testing of 2 cruise missiles in March 2021, and just 4 days later, it tested 2 short-range ballistic missiles. Without mincing any words, North Korea made it very clear that it would not stop its controversial nuclear missile program. They say old habits die hard. This popular saying perfectly fits this country. How has decades of isolation destroyed North Korea and its economy? Well, to know the answer to this question, one simply needs to look at other part of the Korean region. Well, I am obviously talking about South Korea. Today, South Korea is one of the most developed countries of Asia. Its citizens enjoy high standard of living, and the country serves a great inspiration for other Asian countries. Global brands like Samsung, LG, Hyundai are all South Korean brands. On the other hand, North Korea and its people continue to languish in poverty. Both Korean countries could not have been more different from each other. To sum it up all, there seems to be no end to North Korea's self-imposed isolation, not at least in the near future. The corrupt Kim family continues to hold sway over the country, and there aren't any signs that North Koreans will revolt against this dynasty family, which has single-handedly ruined and destroyed this country. And there are no signs either that North Korea wants to get over its American obsession or move away from its rigid communist ideology. Well, that was it for this story. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button on this video and subscribe to our channel. This is Prashant signing off. See you in the next one.